From the very beginning, Steve Jobs' life was different. Born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, he was given up for adoption as an infant. Clara and Paul Jobs became his parents. What might have seemed like rejection at birth was actually the first step in a journey that would prove something extraordinary. That destiny doesn't depend on where you start, but on how far you're willing to go. Steve wasn't ordinary, curious, restless, imaginative. He questioned rules, he challenged teachers, and he dreamed far beyond the world in front of him. As a teenager, Steve met someone who would change his life, Steve Wozniak. Wozniak was the engineer. Jobs was the visionary. Together, they spent hours tinkering with electronics and dreaming of the future. In 1976, in a small garage in Cupertino, Apple Computer was born. 3 men, a garage, and an idea that would change the world. By 1977, the Apple II was released. It wasn't just a machine, it was a revolution. For the first time, ordinary people could own a computer. But success never comes without struggle. In 1985, after clashes with Apple's board and poor Macintosh sales, Steve Jobs was forced out of the very company he had created. Imagine building something from scratch, pouring in your soul, only to be told you're no longer wanted. For most people, that would have been the end. But for Steve, it was only the beginning. He founded Next, a company building high-powered computers. And with $10 million, he bought a tiny graphics studio from George Lucas. That studio would later become Pixar. And with it, Jobs would change not only technology, but storytelling itself. In 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the first fully computer-animated feature film. It was groundbreaking. And Steve Jobs, once considered a failure, was suddenly back in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Apple was collapsing. By the mid-90s, the company was close to bankruptcy. And in 1996, in a twist of fate, Apple bought Next. Steve Jobs returned, this time not as an employee, but as a savior. By 1997, he became Apple's CEO. He simplified the product line, focused on design, and reignited innovation. Slowly, Apple began to rise again. Then came the revolution. 2001, the iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket. It didn't just change music, it changed culture. 2003, the iTunes Store, a legal way to buy songs online, saving the music industry from piracy. 2007, Steve stood on stage and introduced the iPhone. A phone, an iPod, an internet device, all in one. The audience gasped. The world would never be the same again. 2010, the iPad arrived. Critics mocked it as a giant iPhone, but within a week, 500,000 iPads were sold. Once again, Steve proved them wrong. But behind the spotlight, Steve was fighting a private war. In 2004, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He underwent surgery, but the disease never fully left him. Even as his body weakened, his vision never did. In June 2005, he gave his iconic speech at Stanford University. His words still echo today. Stay hungry. Stay foolish. It wasn't just advice. It was the story of his life. By 2011, Steve's health forced him to resign as Apple's CEO. And on October 5th, at only 56 years old, Steve Jobs passed away. His final words to his family were simple and mysterious. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Steve Jobs' story isn't about perfection. It's about resilience. It's about daring to see the world differently. It's about falling down and rising higher. He once said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way to avoid thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart." Jobs reminds us that rejection can be a blessing, failure can be a beginning, and time is far too short to live someone else's dream. So now ask yourself, what dream are you holding back on? What idea are you too afraid to chase? What step have you been waiting to take? Because life is short, and as Steve Jobs proved, the only way to truly live is to stay hungry, stay foolish, and stay true to yourself.